It's podcadzo.
Has Trump said what his Thanksgiving plan is going to be?
I don't think so.
Interesting. Be interesting to see what he.
That's the
how he
policy I'm
interprets-
interested in. Yeah.
How he interprets those rules.
Yeah.
Like, what would he do if it fell on, say, the 29th? Last Thursday of the month on the 29th. I think you got to have Thanksgiving on the 29th.
Those are the hard questions.
We
That's
just have
what I
to
wish
trust
I was
that he would do
informed
the
on
right
as a
thing.
voter.
He would do the right thing
Yeah.
because he's president and he's smart and he's fearless and he's got good people around him and he's Project 2025. I bet there's something about Thanksgiving in Project 2025.
He doesn't just have good people around him. He has the best people.
The best
around
people.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
For a couple months until they all get fired.
I wouldn't be too worried about it.
No.
I feel safe in that we're in the right hands.
Definitely.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just so blessed that frees up a lot of mind space and time to be able to talk about things like you two.
Mm-hmm.
The important shit.
Thank God we can start talking about you two again.
Before we do that, though, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Is that an REM shirt you're wearing?
This is a Harry shirt, actually.
Ooh.
I didn't get it. I got this before you were talking about it, but it is a monster shirt.
Very cool.
Not my favorite REM album, but it was my favorite shirt available on their website.
Yeah. Was that one of like the alternate covers? Because who did that notable dude did the album art for Monster? What's his name?
I don't know.
Monster.
Didn't somebody in the band do a lot of the album covers?
I don't know. I know Bill Berry was on one of the
Bill
albums.
Berry on Life's Rich Pageant.
Yeah, that's him on. Yeah, Monster REM.
That's why I was on their website, because I was getting the vinyl Life's Rich Pageant, and then I got a shirt.
Oh, nice. So you're not a big Monster fan either?
I don't not like Monster, but it's not my favorite. It's cool on like the first couple listens. You're like, oh, they're doing something different here, and then I don't think it really holds up.
Yeah,
as well as it's not as and like their older stuff. My favorite stuff of theirs is like never gets old. I think Monster gets a little old.
Yeah, I agree. I was saying like it feels underproduced in a weird way.
I do like this song "Crush with Eyeliner." That's
a good tune.
Yeah,
yeah, and I re-listened to the Are You Talking REM Monster episode to get their thoughts on it when I listened to Monster last. And I also noticed kind of the overuse of the tremolo on the album.
Yeah,
the
tremolo.
Yeah, the tremolo.
Well, I was gonna say there's something they said on that episode where it's like, I think the first song's what's the frequency, Kenneth, and they were talking about the tremolo and the reverb, and then they play Crush with Eyeliner, and he's like, I call this song, we're going with the tremolo again.
Yeah.
Like. They got really into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He makes the comparison to when he figured out how to do that, and he kept just playing the How Soon Is Now.
Exactly.
It's like nonstop until his roommate made him stop playing it. Thought that was a funny comparison to that album.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the vibe.
That is, when I think of tremolo, I think of How Soon Is Now. It's the ultimate tremolo riff. I just saw Johnny Marr in September, and he did that song, and it was dope.
Nice.
Really nailed the tremolo sound live too. I still haven't found who designed the Monster cover art, but that's all right. It doesn't really matter. Well, everybody, welcome back to podcadzo. Please welcome back returning guest, really honorary member of podcadzo at this point, Conor Sanders. Conor, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
An honor to be here. I know how special today's subject matter is.
There's not much that really tops today's episode, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that this might be a gold standard type episode, you know?
I don't know how many more of these we'll get. And it's a really special moment to be able to talk about new U2.
We're in a special moment in time right now because it's not only new U2, but it's the best era of U2.
Yeah.
When they looked the coolest, when they gave the least fucks, when they embraced their U2 antics the most, I think.
When they embraced Hispanic culture the most.
Yeah, up till that point, they were silent.
Yeah.
That is really what makes it. That's true.
This is their first bilingual album.
Yeah. We are, of course, talking about how to dismantle an atomic bomb, the reassemble edition, or how to reassemble an atomic bomb.
Yeah,
that's how some people refer to it.
have a lot of different names.
Yeah, kind of inconsistent.
I noticed on Spotify, the name is How to Dismantle Reassemble Edition, but then on the cover it says How to Reassemble.
Yeah, same on Apple Music. And
on Apple Music, the cover's like weird. It's like a flash art. You know?
Animated thing. Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, they do that on a lot of releases now on Apple Music. Kind of animated. I think it's their way
of I've seen.
Competing with like the Spotify Canvas thing. Add a little flair to a visual flair to the release.
What if the cover moved slightly?
Yeah.
Like, what if the red like went away for a second and then it came back?
Wow, I could stare at it for hours.
Kind of makes me want to get Apple Music. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm feeling a little left out.
On Spotify, Connor, did they keep the original version up, or is the new Reassemble edition the only version of this album available to stream?
They kept the original up.
Okay, that's something that's really bothered me with Apple Music is I haven't been able to go back and forth and compare between the original and the new remastered version, the Reassemble edition, because they just took the old version off.
Oh, really? Interesting. I hadn't looked that deep into it.
I've been doing that all weekend. I've been going back and forth. But it's funny because on Spotify, one of my big issues with Spotify is sometimes it's fucking impossible to find the original version of an album. They make everything on Spotify is some sort of like remastered or like deluxe or super deluxe edition. And I really hate if I'm going to like listen to an album for the first time. I do not like listening to the deluxe. I'm like, I want to listen to like the original album as it came out. So it's funny that they have both up on Spotify still, and you're not able to do that on Apple. But I did go back and forth a little. I don't know this album well enough, I think, I didn't notice as much. The mix like on Vertigo sounded a little different, like a little garagier, almost kind of throughout.
I'm glad you mean on the new version or on the why I wanted to go back and listen is I feel like really across the whole album, all the remasters are almost like reduxed versions. But it's been a minute since I've listened to the original version. I only listened on one speaker system, and that's why I wanted to do the comparison. But I felt like kind of all the tracks were a little reduxed. I noticed that a lot with Vertigo.
It was like little less glossy.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, when I first listened to How to Reassemble, I felt like that a lot. And I felt like I heard the backing vocals, like the Hola and the Como Estás. I felt like that was more clear.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did go back and listen to the original Vertigo, and it wasn't as different as I remembered. But I still think it was a little
different.
The mix was a little lighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I still have to go and find a way to AB them because I am really curious.
I think the only thing I would really say is I think that there's more like dynamic range in the remaster. I think that the originals are a little bit more like compressed, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do also think there's a little bit of like I think that the original masters, they were going for like shiny,
definitely
like radio rock, and the remaster is a bit more of like a
little more raw.
Yeah, trying to be true to like the attitude of the record itself. But I think I still have the CD somewhere. I'll try and find it for you. That'd be the most ultimate A/B test.
That would be.
Dude, I got this CD for Christmas, like in 2004, I think.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I remember because I don't know why I even wanted it because I wasn't that into U2. Honestly, might have been Colin that got me and was trying to get me into U2 because I remember asking for it and my dad was like, "Really? You want a U2 album?" But I definitely had this CD, but I have no idea where it is now, and I don't even think I listened to it that much because besides like Vertigo, everything else was more new on my recent trek down the U2 path. But it's there somewhere.
This is a good place to pause with talking about the new album because I did want to ask you, Connor, what your thoughts are on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Julian and I did an episode a while ago on later period U2 albums. I think we started
with All That You Can't
Leave Behind and went from there. And we're both big fans of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. But Connor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like this album a lot. I don't know. There's songs that I like more on All That You Can't Leave Behind.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as consistent. Like I think it's well documented that the back half of that album is takes a real drop off.
Yeah.
So I think this album is more consistent. I think Vertigo holds up as a fucking banger. That song is one of their better album intro songs. There's nothing that goes quite as hard as like Beautiful Day or like Elevation for me comparing.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, like City of Blinding Lights is pretty all-time U2 ballad. Love and Peace or Else is a just terrible song name, but it's a solid song. So it does there's things I like about other later period U2 albums more, but this album kind of is probably the most consistent of that era for me. So something to be said for that. I was basically listening to it all weekend. I had a super easy time listening to it, 5 or 6 times in the last couple of days. Besides the song Miracle Drug, I got really tired of that song.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a fan of that song. I know it's like about a kid in a wheelchair, but still.
I always liked Miracle Drug, and I like the new remastered edition a lot. That was on repeat over the weekend. But yeah, I completely agree. Like All That You Can't Leave Behind, songs 1 through 5 are, potentially the best U2 of all time, but does take a massive dip after that. Pretty insane.
I think we kind of mentioned the feeling like when we did our later period episode, we just mentioned that album feels like they had the singles that they knew were going to be huge, and then they had to fill in the album around those singles. And so the rest of the album is literally just filler tracks.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. But instead of mixing in the filler tracks, they just front loaded it.
Yeah, it's super front
loaded. Literally, you can just literally stop listening after song 5.
Yeah.
You don't miss anything.
Completely phoned it in on the second half of the album. Yeah, but How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, I totally agree, solid all the way through. And in case listeners aren't aware, the reason they did this reassemble edition is because it's the 20th anniversary of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. That album came out in November of 2004. We're now in November of 2024. So they not only remastered the original album, but they did a deluxe edition and released a bunch of, for lack of a better term, B-sides or kind of demos that they were working on at the time. Some of the songs are just different versions of songs that are on the album, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. For example, so How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb is 12 tracks. And then Fast Cars is what closes out How to Disassemble an Atomic Bomb. And then in this reassemble edition, the 13th track is Picture of You. parenthetical X plus W, which is just a different version of Fast Cars, essentially.
Seems like
I thought it was weird how they did that.
Yeah.
It just goes straight in to listening to the same song. Like back to back.
I think it's like maybe an early version of Fast Cars or like a demo of Fast Cars or something like that, because it seems like way less finished, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I was listening. There's a what's his name? Zane Lowe interview with The Edge where they were talking about this.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I couldn't get through the whole thing.
Zane Lowe is a cheesy motherfucker, dude. Let me tell you something.
Yeah. Connor, do you like Zane Lowe? Do you ever watch the shit?
I've just seen like clips of him. There's some interesting stuff that comes out of that show, but he definitely just
gets
like
the best people.
I like his show, but yeah, he's
fully
just
glazes every guest.
He glazes it hard. Yeah,
Definitely.
He does tricks on it. But I've seen some fun clips that have come from his show. So
definitely, yeah. No, he gets.
I don't know if I hate the guy as much as Julian does. Julian wants to see him dead.
Yeah, Julian, we do have strong feelings about him.
Yeah, I definitely want to see him maybe not dead, but at the very least severely injured. I think is a fair middle ground.
Maimed
low.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just think it is really funny. Like he can have, they're all his guests are really good, but he can have some really like, especially just really cringy moments. Like I watched the Coldplay one that they just did, and like the whole Chris Martin interview, they're like sitting on rocks by the beach, and Chris Martin's like barefooted, and they keep like zooming in on his feet, and it's just like. Meanwhile, Zane Lowe is saying Mune Music is like the best Coldplay album ever, and it's just like, man, if you actually believe that, then good for you. But also,
yeah, I don't think I'd want to watch any interview of Chris Martin.
Definitely not
these days,
especially with Zane Lowe,
or listen to any Coldplay. So.
Or have anything to do with them at all.
Be associated with the word Coldplay.
But
just get them out of my life.
Here's the snippet from that interview, and they use this in the Apple Music bio for this album. Brian Eno described me as, quote, the Mother Teresa of the rough mix. The Edge tells Apple Music Radio's Zane Lowe, I would not give up. If I felt there was something in this rough mix, I would hold on to it. So when the U2 guitarist returned to his CDs of demos and rough mixes for this 20th anniversary edition of 2004's How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, there was some confidence that he might find a few ideas worth pursuing. So I think that's kind of how like this deluxe edition was born. They started like, remastering the album, and then the Edge went back to
He went through his tapes,
CDs of demos, and he like later on describes that he was actually like kind of pleasantly surprised at how good some of the stuff they were working on was.
I swear the Edge is, Bono is U2's biggest fan, but the Edge is U2's second biggest fan because he's like, every time they do an anniversary release, he's just like, man, I swear there's some good shit in the vault. And then they like release 20 of the most mid songs you've ever heard.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the extra songs on here?
They're good.
There's a lot I really enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had fun listening to them.
They're not nearly as good as the songs on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Therefore,
I wasn't like, damn, I wish this was on the original.
No, there's no like lost gold, I don't think.
That was definitely my biggest takeaway is like, thank God they had the rationale to not put these on the album shorter, and ruin it.
Because that's part of what made the original album, I think, so good was the fact that like what Connor was saying earlier, it's so easy to listen to.
It's listenable all the way
It's
through,
accessible as fuck, and making it any longer kind of takes away from the accessibility of it. And I don't even think the US version got Fast Cars originally, right? Wasn't that like some other, like a Japan release or some bullshit like that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Because so when I think the first single they dropped was Picture of You and Country Mile together. They dropped those together, and then I never knew the song Fast Cars too well. So I was texting you, Julian, being like, Picture of You stole the melody from that fucking Raconteur song, Salute Your Solution.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that song, Connor?
Yeah, so that sounds like that. And then there's another song on this album. Fucking, I think it's Crumbs from Your Table. That sounds like Constant Headache by Joyce Manor.
I don't.
Oh,
I'd have to listen to that song.
It sounds like the verse from Constant Headache. They're like, I could hear you coming from the.
Yeah.
I mean, the U2 song was first, but yeah, both those songs they're both first, and they both like sound exactly like Salute Your Solution and then Constant Headache, and it really throws me off.
Yeah, because then Julian was like, well, isn't Picture of You just Fast Cars? I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about Fast Cars, and I've thought that same thing before listening to Fast Cars. This is Salute Your Solution. But yeah, anyways, I got a big kick out of listening to tracks 13 through 22. I don't know why they included, like we were just saying, Picture of You really, or especially sequenced it that way to be right after Fast Cars. And then I think they could have left All Because of You too off too, the last track. I feel like that was maybe just for
maybe the worst song title of all time, even if it was just like a placeholder name. Like, oh God, that's so cringe.
And a horrible, not a great demo either. So busy.
Pretty busy demo for sure.
Yeah.
And to end it off on that is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think they just did that because of the cheesy song title.
Yeah, so I feel like the sequencing of the bonus tracks was kind of sloppy.
Yeah, I feel like maybe, well, not maybe. I feel like definitely if this was to be a physical release, then it would be a separate disc with all of the bonus tracks.
Right.
So then you'd get at least the break of having to change the discs over or whatever from Fast Cars to Picture of You.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it's interesting. I do wish that they sequenced it differently so they weren't back to back, but I am glad that they included Picture of You because I do think Fast Cars on the record sticks out the most and is like the most not necessarily conceptual but just the most like out there for a U2 song on the record. And so it is kind of cool to see like the context of where that song comes from because it really just feels like kind of just like a jam that they just like had chronicled away, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. Connor, do you have a favorite bonus track?
I did. I didn't listen to the bonus tracks that much until like today. And they weren't, I think it was, hold on, let me see. Hold on.
Oh, okay. I'm looking.
I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Happiness.
Yeah,
it might have been
is a
Country
banger.
Mile.
Happiness is a great one.
I really like
yeah.
Country Mile too.
Like
It's
Country
such
Mile.
a
I think those were the two
quintessential
that
U2
stood out to me. The rest of them kind of blended into like okay, but like weren't sticking out to me or making me think they needed to be on the album.
I'm upset at myself. I'm just noticing now that if you scroll down beneath the new album on Apple Music, there's an other versions option, and the original version is on there.
I was gonna say, like, I swear I saw it somewhere on Apple Music.
There's two other versions, and the I think the one I was clicking on is remastered, but without the bonus tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's
because they did a remaster
version.
in what, like 20. Like,
well,
when
no,
are the
this
other
is the
remasters
remaster
from?
2024. I don't know when the other remasters are, but you were right, Julian, about Fast Cars not being on the North America release because the bonus track version of the original album has Fast Cars on it.
Got it. Yeah, I remember like listening to the CD. It always stopped at Yahweh. Yeah, which I always thought was just kind of a weak closer, but it makes sense knowing that Fast Cars was supposed to be like the actual closer.
Yeah. So yeah, Happiness and Country Mile are bangers. I also enjoyed Luckiest Man in the World a fair bit. I felt like it was real kind of classic U2
Also
form.
very quintessential.
Yeah. It has a couple weak points. Like, I think it was wise to not include it on the album, but I was a fan of that song. And then the other bonus track I wanted to talk about was Treason. You guys remember that one?
Yeah.
Treason almost sounds like a Rihanna song from the time, like the production of it, but with Bono singing over and a little bit of U2 flavor sprinkled on top.
Sure.
It's a pretty wild track.
I did think it was very interesting, and it definitely, I'm glad that it wasn't on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, but I think that it gave interesting foresight into what the Edge wanted to do, like with future U2, because I feel like it kind of almost in a weird way scratches the surface of like what's on Songs of Innocence a little bit, where it's like super just like loud, modern, pop-driven rock music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to the songs, but I feel like this does have to be mentioned just as a bizarre choice. Why is the Edge standing like that?
Oh, are we going to talk about the art now? I was going to say at some point I want to mention the artwork. I think it's really interesting as a choice that he decided to deliberately do the beanie thing for his entire career. And then the one time when he's like okay with not having a beanie is when he's got the literal weirdest stance that a man can fucking have. Like, what is he doing, bro? He looks like he had his bottom 3 vertebrae like removed and he's just sagging now or something.
He's away from everybody else.
It's such an awkward distance away, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really feels like they were fucking with him on this one.
Then just not having the beanie on is...
It honestly seems
he looks
like
so bald.
they had the picture.
Everybody else looks very normal.
Very
Bono
normal
looks
and cool.
very Bono.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there like...
It's almost like they had the picture of the other 3 dudes, and then they just had to get Edge in there somehow.
They just took a picture. They took a picture of him after he tried to go to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Open the door.
He literally does look like, I don't know, he just got scolded by his mom for like wearing his shoes in the house or something. He's just like, come on, Mom.
Man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I mean, I always know this, but it's easy to forget because of the beanie again. But like, he's bald.
Really,
Like
yeah.
there ain't a glimmer of life up there.
Have you guys seen the South Park episode where they make fun of Vertigo?
Yeah.
Because I cannot.
Where Bono's a number
anymore.
2.
Colin made me watch that entire episode.
Every time he comes in, hello.
Yeah.
I just think about that every time I hear that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did the later U2 release episode, I kept referencing that, and Julian had never seen that episode, so we had to pause and we watched that entire.
We watched the whole
together.
episode.
Nice.
And I definitely left with more questions than I went in with.
Yeah, it's one of the all-timers though. I think.
Yeah,
South Park.
they really don't like Bono.
Yeah. Okay, so anything left to say about the bonus tracks, guys?
I think the only thing I wanted to mention about the bonus tracks that we didn't already talk about was the theme from the Batman.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting thing to include again because of the whole like saga and all the drama with all the Batman shit that happened with U2 in the 90s.
Right.
Just how many Batman songs did they make? You know, like fuck, dude, it's a lot.
Was this for the Robert Pattinson Batman or?
I think it was for the Batman.
No, so yeah, U2 was featured heavily on the soundtrack of the big fucking what's the actor's name? Michael Keaton Batman in the 90s.
That was like Octoon Baby era or like Zooropa
yeah,
era.
So it was before How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb.
I think it was like was it in between Octung Baby and Zooropa? Or was it like right before Octung Baby when they did Thrill
What's
Me,
the song?
Kiss Me?
They talk about it on the...
Yeah, so it was the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Okay,
and this
that's the Val
soundtrack
Kilmer
was
one.
a big deal. All right, so first let me pull up Batman Forever.
That's honestly
But this
a banger.
said,
There's
this
some bangers
said
on that
theme
record.
for the Batman, which the Batman was the Robert Pattinson one.
Yeah. So
Or theme
Batman Forever
from-
dropped in 1995, and I'm sorry, it wasn't Michael Keaton anymore at that point. It was Val
Kilmer.
Val Kilmer
What
Batman.
being said.
5.4 out of 10 on IMDb today.
Yeah,
The
not
Batman Forever
well rated.
soundtrack had "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me"
That song rips.
from U2.
That's the
And
song.
that was like the
Isn't there an
big-
REM song on that?
There is an
soundtrack,
REM
too?
song on it.
If you've never listened to that U2 song, you should check it out.
Anything else from the bonus tracks, guys?
No, that was it. Shout out to the Batman theme.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is a cool song on it. I think they should have just ended with that and left All Because of You 2 off.
Yeah, I would have been down with that.
Yeah. Yeah, All Because of You 2 is really bad. It just kind
I
of
thought it was interesting I don't know, because of how like streamlined the album is. It was almost like nice to hear a song or a demo where it's like not organized at all, and it's just like every idea got added to the mix.
Exactly. It reeks of the Edge getting like GarageBand or Pro Tools for the first
like,
time and being
"Guys,
like, I can just copy and paste whatever
We can do this all in the computer now.
into this. Yeah.
The lovely lads from Liverpool.
Lovely lads from Liverpool. They're the famously British U2.
Yeah. All right. So back to the actual album, the remastered version, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about it kind of sounding reduxed across the board, a little more raw. It's definitely the case on Vertigo.
I don't know if I would agree with Reduxed, to be honest.
Really?
That makes it seem like it's flatter than the original, but I don't necessarily think it's flatter than the original.
Yeah.
I think it just there's less focus on like high-end shininess.
Did you ever listen to the Redux version of 10 by Pearl Jam?
No.
And did an A/B to the original one?
No.
I've done it a couple times because Pearl Jam was pretty unhappy when 10 came out, like how overproduced it sounded. And so when they had an opportunity to do a re-release, they did a Redux version. And on that version, yes, it's more raw, but I don't think that takes away from like the overall fidelity of it, or like the dynamic range of it. I actually think the Redux version is a bit better. And it just kind of reminded me of like what the reassemble edition is in reference to the original edition.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But yeah,
I feel like
they don't.
in general, I would prefer like a more raw version, like Weezer for like Blue Album to Pinkerton. Like generally, I kind of draw towards Pinkerton, which like feels way more raw and less polished than Blue Album. But I don't know, like this era of U2 kind of feels right for it to be more polished.
Definitely, I don't think they could have gotten away with it sounding this way, especially after All That You Can't Leave Behind.
Yeah.
You know.
Because All That You Can't Leave Behind is like in a lot of ways still even more produced. Like the original is still even more produced than How to Dismantle when it came out in 2004, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even like the comparison of opening tracks from like A Beautiful Day to a Vertigo, it couldn't be.
Vertigo's just like a stripped back rock song.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Where Beautiful Day is like, you know, a minute-long synth introduction.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then Elevation too is like all electronic-y, like that song I still love, but like in like being real, it probably hasn't aged great. But I still love it.
I always kind of draw Elevation to Love and Peace or Else, honestly. I feel like they're kind of similar brainwave songs, but Love and Peace is the more like abstract version, and Elevation is the more like you're walking down the grocery store and you need like a catchy song to hum along to.
Yeah.
It also the one it kind of reminded me of on is it Wire on Unforgettable? Yeah, the song Unforgettable Fire.
Yeah.
It gives me that vibe too. The Love and Peace or Else does. It's like a fat bass line.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Just a running, like, super rhythmic, like, bass drum and tom thing going on.
Yeah.
I think the remastered version of Sometimes You Can't Make It on Your Own did a lot of favors for the song.
I agree.
I really love this new remastered edition. And I never disliked it on the original album, but it never stood out to me that much. But listening to the remastered one, that song really grabbed me.
I think I was kind of talking about my revelation with that song on our other YouTube episode where I always thought it was kind of cheesy and dumb. And then for some reason, going back and listening to it earlier this year, just with, like, I guess some age or whatever, like, that song spoke to me a lot more than it ever did. And the remaster definitely, like, took it a step further for me, where I think there's just, again, like, a little more separation. Like, you can kind of hear all of the layers, like, interacting with each other a bit more, and it's a bit less just, like, tube sausage loudness at the end.
Yeah.
I kind of felt the same way about City of Blinding Lights too. I thought the remaster, like, really opened that one up in a really nice way.
Yeah, it almost does better with the songs that were a little more minimal or slower.
Exactly. Yeah, the kind of rawness, grudginess of the remaster leaves a little more room for Bono's vocals too. It sounds a little bit more emotional
and we were talking too, I think, about how Bono really lets his vocals kind of go crazy on this record. Like, his vocal performance up till this point had always been mostly, like, really reserved, and, like, I think he always worried about sounding as, like, clean and professional as possible. And I think there's a lot of moments on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb where he, like, puts the balls to the wall a lot more and just is a lot more, like, carefree with the vocal performance. And I think that, yeah, these remasters do highlight that in a really cool way. Like, they bring a little bit more prominence to the vocal performances being a bit more, like, unhinged.
Yeah, there were a few times where I could have been convinced it was just a different vocal take entirely, but
yeah, some of them do sound like almost re-recorded. I had to, like, go back and listen to the original and be like, oh, I guess it is the same. But
yeah,
City of Blinding Lights, most famous for being on Entourage.
yeah.
Remember
when he shouts out Johnny Drama?
Yeah, happy birthday, Johnny Drama! at the Vertigo tour.
That's when I became a U2 fan, when I watched that episode of Entourage.
I think that's when they really hit it big.
True.
It was like they were kind of like a cult type of band before, and then Entourage was just so big back then that it really blew them up.
But yeah, that's a great song, and also famously used in the Obama campaign.
Still uses it, like, when he was doing pep talks for Kamala, he would walk out to City of Blinding Lights.
Wouldn't it be funny if he walked out to Vertigo instead?
Uno, dos.
Yeah,
that's how you win the Latino vote right there.
That would be exactly. That would be much more exciting.
All the pandering you need to do.
So what we talked a little bit about Love and Peace or Else. What do you guys think of the new remastered version compared to the original?
I think of all the remastered tracks, for me personally, this one was the least different. Just because the song itself, just in the way that it was originally, like, written and recorded, I think they kind of it seems like they executed this one the most as far as, like, vision on the original, if that makes any sense. Like, they played with this one the most in the studio and fucked with it till it was, like, just right. So I feel like the remaster, again, just kind of takes some of the top end off, but doesn't really do it in a super noticeable way for this one.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
I
think if there were two on this album that I would definitely pick the original, it'd be that and Vertigo.
Fair.
I was thinking the same thing. I almost think City of Blinding Lights too. I like the new one, but I feel like the more polished City of Blinding Lights fits the song better.
I really like the remastered one. I feel like there's just such an energy, like, because I always thought that
I might have to listen to that again.
The one gripe I had with the original was that it did feel too subdued for the amount of energy that I felt
was
Bono
possible.
and like Larry was putting into the actual track. So I just feel like the energy matches better on the remaster. And I do think I can definitely understand your side of things where it's like the polished one is just so like everything has like the pocket, you know, where like everything sits super clean and it just feels really, again, easy to listen to. And I also think that the songs that we listen to from the original more would be the ones that we don't want to see changes on for the remaster. Like Vertigo for me was like really hard to wrap my head around the remaster just because of how many times I'd listened to the original. And City of Blinding Lights was kind of the same thing for me, where it was like I listened to the original so many times that listening to the new one at first I was like, what is this? But it's subtle enough but opens it up in just such a nice way, I think.
Yeah. No, I would have to do another like I said, I couldn't do the A/B listens.
Yeah.
So, but that's just listening to the remastered version yesterday. It's just for whatever reason I was craving the City of Blinding Lights that I'm so familiar with.
Yeah.
I always loved the song Original of the Species. That's always been one of my favorite from the album, and I like the remastered edition a lot.
I agree.
I liked the A Man and a Woman remaster on here as well. It stuck out to me more. I just noticed that song more on this one than I did on the original, I think.
I think what always kind of bugged me about the original, I guess not always, but later on when I went back and re-listened to the original, it was like the bass line from that song was like so low endy and stood out so much from everything else being like really top endy and sparkly.
You're talking Crumbs from Your Table?
I'm talking A Man and a Woman.
Man and a Woman. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's what we're talking about.
But I think, yeah, again, the remaster kind of brings out the gnarliness and everything to like match the energy that's in the original bass track. So I do think the remaster is really well done. And I think
it is weird in the chorus when they say marriage is inarguably between a man and a woman and everything else is a sin. It's like and it's like maybe they should have changed that in the remaster.
Maybe they should have updated that.
This
slightly.
would have been the perfect opportunity too.
Yeah,
I was thought.
Yeah,
that
they actually doubled down on it.
I think they think they didn't for a reason.
They said that, and then afterwards he said, and we still think this in 2024. So
we stand by it.
And I'm sure that will be elaborated on in the liner notes if there is a physical release. As progressive as those guys are, they're still Irish Catholics.
Yeah, exactly. To the bone, to their core. They're probably good. There's got to be. I'm surprised there's not a physical yet of this.
Yeah, no, there probably is.
I imagine there's going to be a physical.
Yeah, it'll be like a box set that costs $300.
You got to get the vinyl. You got to get a close look of it at Edge.
Yeah.
If there ever is a vinyl, I'll definitely try.
I just got the reissue of the Stop Making Sense.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I had the original pressing, but
nice.
They just came out with a new one that's got the entire concert on it. So
that's amazing. I still haven't seen the new concert movie from that, and everyone's raving about it.
It's just like remastered, isn't it?
I thought they added material somehow.
They might have. I haven't. Yeah, like A24 did a whole. I haven't seen it either. I've only seen the original, but obviously wonderful.
On Black Friday, they are releasing an exclusive red and black vinyl for How to Reassemble.
On Black Friday?
Target.
On Black Friday.
Damn.
Only at Target.
Yeah. So I might try to.
Oh, congrats! When's the podcadzo vinyl dropping?
Well, actually, the cadzo vinyl for the album. Or are you talking about greatest podcadzo bits condensed into a physical release? Yeah, bloopers and takeouts.
I figured they'd probably come out around the same time.
Yeah. That's our deluxe edition.
We're pressing one line as well.
Podcadzo uncensored.
Yeah.
Greatest hits on vinyl.
We would love to do a physical release for the Cadzo LP.
Yes, which, not to hijack this whole episode, and we're going to do other episodes about it too, but Mile a Minute Man is out now. This is the first episode we've done since it came out, so go check out Mile a Minute Man if you want to.
It's great.
On streamers.
Congrats. I should have brought it up from the start. But
No, thanks, man.
U2 is precedent.
Yeah.
I would have. Well, it's funny because I listened. That came out on Friday. I listened to it a couple times. Obviously, the Kendrick came out, so I listened to the Kendrick a couple times. I listened to Mile a Minute Man before I listened to the new Kendrick, though. I was like, priorities here. So I listened to Kendrick a couple times, and then Colin texted me. And he's like, "We're doing How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb." So I was like, "Shit!" So basically, the rest of my weekend got hijacked by U2 by me listening.
You're welcome
To Reassemble and just. So I need to listen to it more, but U2 took precedent over Kendrick and Cadzo this weekend.
U2
so I should be prepared.
took precedent for me too. I still have not listened to the full Kendrick record, but I've listened to How to Reassemble 4 times.
Yeah, I did feel kind of sad at one point because I had been listening to a record that I've already listened to 150 million times, and also a record that came out in 2004.
Yeah.
More than a bunch of exciting shit that came out at the same time. But I mean, fuck. It's just like I think we've talked about this on our other YouTube episodes as well, but for me personally, like How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb was the first record that came out that I like gave a shit about. Like it formed my whole musical opinion for like years to come. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they pay homage to it and did this re-release was not only like a pleasant surprise, but it also, again, just hit me right in the nostalgia factor where it was like, damn, this record really never stopped meaning like a whole lot to me, even when I thought U2 was fucking horrible and Bono was a piece of shit and all that stupid stuff. Like,
Connor, I wonder if you asked your dad for the CD because we were so obsessed with the Vertigo music video.
Probably. I think that was just our peak watching MTV time. So that's because I re-listened to this album. I was like, Vertigo is like burned in my brain, but like the rest of the album, I did not listen to that much. Mm-hmm. But there's been a lot of albums coming out, or a lot of 20th anniversaries, that have been happening lately. That have been like last year we had Elephant 20-year anniversary. This year we had American Idiot and How to Dismantle Atomic Bomb. It's kind of weird thinking that was all the same era.
It really is.
That this and American Idiot came out in the same year. They feel like very different times in my life.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And like album playthrough shows have really taken the fuck off too. Like bands were not playing full albums all the way through just because they had like turned a certain age until like I feel like within the last 5-10 years. So that's a trend that I really like to see, and I think it's cool. Like again, U2 re-releasing an album that objectively not a whole lot of people probably really cared too much to have a re-release for. Like, I think it's just cool that they are willing to go back into their back catalog and pay homage like that. And like, I don't know, it's just a trend that a lot of bands are starting to follow that I really like. I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, Modest Mouse was just touring through doing Good News for People Who Love Bad News, and I'm bummed I missed that one. But that can't be... Oh, yeah, I guess that is the 20th anniversary, 2004.
Yeah,
okay.
That was 2004 too.
Yeah. Yeah, very strange that album is the same time as How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Mm-hmm. Really doesn't make sense. And then, it's funny, like I've been re-listening Are You Talking R.E.M., Remy, and it's funny, like getting into the later period REM releases, putting it in context, like what else was going around the time. Like, is it Up that came out? No, Up came out earlier. What was the release in 2008? It's like
that was their last
one.
Right?
Accelerate. I just remembered. Yeah, it's like coming out the same year as Vampire Weekend. It's funny, like Vampire Weekend's debut and REM released in the same year,
Yeah, even just thinking about like Vertigo being on MTV is kind of funny because it feels like MTV was off the air in like the mid 90s, but we were all watching it as kids in the 2000s, and it was still influential. Like I remember seeing Vertigo on like the VH1 weekend block where they did music videos on VH1.
Yeah.
And
Vertigo might have been more on the
Boulevard of Broken
VH1
Dreams.
circuit, but we were definitely also watching VH1.
Oh yeah.
They would do like the top 20
Yeah.
music videos every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Vertigo had a good run on there.
It really did.
What's your guys' favorite REM albums?
Okay.
You were talking about REM a little bit last night on the podcast.
Yeah.
Just to sidetrack a little bit.
My number one. Hey, wait, give me 1 second.
I need to go back through and look.
Should we do top 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top 3, like number 1 is favorite.
Yeah, number 1's favorite. So
you
start
go
with
first,
3.
Connor, because I feel like you're probably the most prepared.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for my number 3.
All right, you go.
My number 3 is New Adventures in Hi-Fi.
Yeah, that is probably also my number 3. I really like that album though. The song So Fast So Numb, that might be my favorite REM song. That album rules. God, that one's up there for me. My top 3 are all really close together, I would say.
Yeah. I know I might have to cheat and kind of do a tie for number 2 because I really can't.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get this into
albums.
3. I don't know if I can get this into 3 right now. I'd really have to.
Yeah, now that God, they have so many fucking good albums.
They really do.
I was gonna do Murmur and then Life's Rich Pageant.
And just what I find funny about REM is like when they were at their peak commercial success wise, are the albums that weren't so great. Like the ones that are most revered are not really that great. Like Automatic for the People, Out of Time, and Monster they're not
really
bad
like
albums,
Out of
but
Time. I was gonna put Out of Time at my number 3 because I
was gonna say out of those, my favorite is Automatic for the People.
I prefer Automatic
I think it's
for
the
the
best
People
front
too.
to back.
Yeah,
I like Automatic for the People a lot, but I think I don't know. Out of Time for me.
Out of Time is just a bizarre album.
It might be one of those things where I like it more because it's not as samey.
Yeah, it's definitely not samey. Like it has Shiny Happy People on it, which I love Shiny Happy People, but
I love it. Are you talking REM to me that Scott Aukerman literally stopped listening to REM when Stan came out. He's like this.
Yeah, he had never listened to Automatic for the People because he hated Shiny Happy People so much.
And it was Stan and Shiny Happy People. And
yeah.
He put up, when they played Stan on the podcast, he played it for like 2 seconds and he was like, okay.
Yeah.
He fucking hates that song. But yeah, Shiny Happy People I think is overhated.
Yeah. And same with Stand I love Stand. I always think of that Parks and Rec episode where Adam Scott's character is going through severe depression and he gets into claymation.
It's so good.
He uses Stand and it's like 2 seconds. Okay, so
and he's like, "Oh my god, that's the whole thing."
That's the whole thing. Okay,
I wonder if that idea came from them on the podcast.
Yeah, I would
hope them talking about Stand on the podcast.
I think he actually mentions in the REM podcast that the writers found it really funny how into REM Adam Scott was and kind of like had that idea to infuse that into Ben's character.
They were like, he's like, you get this far into a show and they start just taking things from your actual life and making it your character.
Yep.
But yeah, they did like randomly start making him a big REM fan and it fit perfectly.
So for my number 2, I really don't think I could I can't pick between Document and Reckoning. I think those are tied for my number 2.
I would go Reckoning over Document personally.
Yeah.
But Document is great. Document has the cover of that Wire song on it, Strange.
Mm-hmm.
That's both versions of that song are great.
Yeah.
Exhuming McCarthy's also
Exhuming McCarthy's dope. And then
I don't know if Reckoning's so good though.
Reckoning's
Seven
so good.
Chinese
Like, I
Brothers,
think-
South Central Rain.
Yeah, I think Harbor Coat.
Sorry.
I think Harbor Coat might be my.
Sorry.
If I'm hard pressed, Harbor Coat might be my favorite REM song.
That's a great song.
Great song. But yeah,
I don't know. For me, I just like Life's Rich Passion, just front to back. Just bangers. Every song on that's banger. Ends with
great.
Superman. That's a pretty all-time ender.
Yeah.
Superman is one of my favorite.
I didn't know that was a cover for the longest time. Superman.
Yeah. I don't think I did either.
Yeah.
But it's a great cover.
And then
all right, yeah. So I'm going Murmur and Life's Rich Pageant.
Okay,
right,
that's your
two.
tie for two.
No, I'm just gonna go two and
one. Okay.
I'm just gonna leave it clean. Three.
Okay, without fucking around with ties, I'm gonna say. Okay, well then I guess I'd have to remove New Adventures in Hi-Fi, and I'd have to say Documents number 3, Reckoning's number 2, Murmur's number 1.
Okay, yeah, Murmur's pretty fucking great.
Yeah, I have an affinity for debut albums too, and that is a really good debut.
It's very good. All right, Julian, what are yours?
Fuck. I don't know, man.
It was hard. It was harder to do 3. As soon as I started looking at how many albums, I was like, "Fuck, 3 is hard."
Yeah,
I feel like. I don't know. 3, I'm gonna go Out of Time. It just feels like the right thing to do. And then 2, I'm going Automatic for the People. 1, I'm going Life's Rich Pageant.
Okay.
And I really wanted to put Murmur as number 1, but lately Life's Rich Pageant has been more of like a through and through for me. Like every song is unskippable.
I haven't listened through all of Life's Rich Pageant in a while. I have to do that.
Like it's got
really
major
good.
second album vibes where it's just like you can tell that they're
I know.
throwing everything they can at all of the tracks.
That's 4th album, brother.
But it's got
Yeah,
like
but it
that.
feels like-
It's got
the
like
vibes,
that
you're saying,
vibe
okay.
of second album
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like
What
they locked
so
into
like
the groove.
they talk about it. They talk about it on. Are you talking REM a lot? We're on Murmur and Reckoning, and then Fables of Reconstruction was kind of a little different. But on Murmur and Reckoning, they like do the fake out before the first chorus on like every song.
Every song.
Where they like do a verse and you think the chorus is coming, and then it goes back into the verse.
Yeah.
And on Life's First Pageant, they just don't do that. They just go straight into the chorus on every song, and it makes the album like flow better, I think. And it's also just every song on that album is really good.
That formula does get a little bit tired after a while. As like effectively as they use it on Murmur, you can see it start to be overused. And Julian, to your point about Life's Rich Pageant being kind of like big second album vibes, it was after Fables, which was a big dud. But like I think I remember there was like even in the band, they really just liked how Fables came out. So in a lot of ways it was like almost like the same second album thing, like, oh shit, like we have to recover now. Like and like
foot on the gas.
Yeah, exactly.
No expenses spared.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also easy. I mean, they came out. Their first hit wasn't until Document, so they did have 4 albums before they were even like a big band.
Yeah.
So it does all their first few albums do all have that just before they were famous vibe to them, where I often get their like that era kind of jumbled up, where it all just feels like early, like pre insanely popular REM. It's like the first 5, and then it goes Green, Out of Time, Automatic, and Monster. We're all like huge REM era.
Yeah. Like,
did you know New Adventures in Hi-Fi? A lot of those songs were recorded live, like on the Monster tour.
Yeah,
I think that's crazy.
I learned about that for the first time in the REM podcast. I had no idea. It's crazy, and it's crazy. It works so well as an album because some of the songs are so studio-esque and so studio crafted, and then the rest are just recorded
like
live.
Ebo the Letter sounds so. Ebo the Letter is the one with
Patti Smith.
Yeah. That's a good.
Which they talk about in the REM podcast too. That was the first single from the album, which was a bizarre choice.
Probably part of the reason that album sold didn't sell
Didn't
any
sell well. It
copies.
really kind of felt like REM like kind of was sabotaging their career at that point. Like it almost feels like they tried to in Monster as well. Like they were not going for commercial success in Monster, but they just had so much juice behind them that like they couldn't fail. But by the time you get to New Adventures in Hi-Fi, it feels like, all right, we're ready to not be the biggest band in the world. Yeah. Ready to do some weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Monster, to go back to what we were originally talking about, strange album to me. And like what sparked me kind of thinking about Monster a lot was I watched the What's the Frequency Kenneth music video. I was talking about this on the pod. Just the combination of how subdued that song is and the strangeness of the music video. It's surprising to me how much people loved that. Like when it was released, like when the music video came out, and they talk about it on the REM podcast, like everyone was like, oh, like the What's the Frequency Kenneth music video. Or like on the YouTube comments, it was like, I couldn't wait for this video to be played on YouTube. It's like, this one? Really? A bunch of weird old guys.
I don't
like, dancing
think I've
around.
watched. I don't think I've seen the video for it.
The other significant thing about the music video, it was the first time anyone saw Michael Stipe since he shaved his head completely. So it was kind of a new look. It's when he started wearing Star t-shirts all the time.
People thought he had AIDS.
Yeah, people thought he had AIDS. Yep.
Star 69 is another good one on that
Star
album.
69 is really good. Yeah, I like most of the songs on Monster.
Some of them, it gets like he mentions it. He feels this exact same way I do on the podcast, where like by the end of it, he's just like, I don't dislike like any song on this album, but he's like, by the end, I'm just so tired of listening to this album and like glad it's over. It's like it's so grating and repetitive by the end. You're just like, Whereas like Life's Pageant. That's the one. That's the Monster one.
Yeah,
that's
Monster one. Yeah.
And
he's like, I had to put something else on to even see if I still liked music.
Yeah, exactly. And like Life's Pageant, I get to the end of it, and I was like, I'll just listen to that album again. Just start from the top again.
For sure.
Like their other stuff is so infinitely like re-listenable, and that album's just like grating to go back to.
Yeah. Just for me with REM, it just feels like Document is like the last of the real REM albums. Like, I'm a big fan of Green. Obviously, Out of Time has a bunch of great songs in it. Automatic for the People is a good album. Monster, a lot of good songs in it. New Adventures in Hi-Fi is a cool album. But they just never did like another conventional. Like, I just feel like they perfected the art of the REM album so much up until Document. And then after that, you just kind of never get something that's like Document again. That's what's tough about the... And it's just weird, like at that, like Green, Out of Time, Automatic for the People, Monster, those are the big ones. It's like, people, you missed the real good stuff.
Automatic for the People is really great.
It is great.
I'm looking through the track list.
No, it is. Yeah, and it has, Everybody Hurts, Man on the Moon.
Like I will say, I know what you mean, but I still think they had two, at least two like really good albums and then some pretty good albums.
Yeah.
I like Green too, but I will say like Orange Crush is probably my favorite like big hit of theirs.
Orange Crush is so good.
Yeah.
Such a banger. But yeah, Green. Yeah, they never felt like comfortable being the biggest band in the world.
Definitely.
Like some of it sometimes came out a little unnatural sounding.
To jump back to you two, Connor, we've obviously talked enough about Disassemble, but I did want to ask what your thoughts are on the albums that came after How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb, No Line on the Horizon, Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience. Have you spent a lot of time with those records? Do you have opinions?
I haven't spent a ton of time with the records. Songs of Innocence I did like the most out of them. And then like I listened to a little bit of Songs of Surrender.
Snooze fest.
Yeah, exactly. No Line on the Horizon, I feel like I believe you listened to once, but I can't really remember it. But I do like Songs of Surrender. I like the song, or no, Songs of Innocence. God, that they really made that confusing. Songs of Innocence, I like. Joey Ramone song's good. Volcano's good. Raised by Wolves. That one I like the whole album. I like the vibe.
It's a great
Just back to
album.
basics
That's
rock.
what brought us
Yeah.
to that topic when we talked about it on the podcast. Is Julian listened to that album for the first time, like since it came out, and you had your U2 renaissance because of that.
Yeah,
Nice.
because of everything surrounding Songs of Innocence when it came out, and because of me being an edgy teenager, I was like, U2's horrible. Fuck this album. And then I literally never listened to it until, like not over a decade later, but close to a decade later. And it's
that
damn
was
good.
the one that infamously went onto the everybody's phone, right? So,
Yep.
And a lot of people, out of spite, did not listen to that album.
If you were a U2 fan, especially, or if you're like a closet U2 fan like me, where you pretended that you hated them because all your friends hated them, but then you secretly liked them, you really had to distance yourself from that record. And that's what I did. I did not give it even a shot. I just told everyone that it was a piece of shit for like over 10 years, and then it's really good.
Yeah, no, I didn't listen to it until the podcast, and then they were just like playing the snippets, and I was like, these songs sound kind of good.
Yeah.
And great record.
Great record.
Songs of Innocence was kind of the same too. Like when it came out, I thought it was really bad, and I had to listen to it like a bunch of times. Or not Songs of Innocence. No Line on the Horizon.
No Line on the Horizon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
you were saying you like that
kind
one.
of same vibe.
I think my opinion on No Line on the Horizon has deteriorated a little bit since we recorded that pod. I've listened to No Line on the Horizon again, and it has its moments, but as an album, the sequencing, it's not that good to me anymore.
I think that the thing about it is, like, you have to be in exactly the right mood for it to come across. Like, if you don't want to hear it, then it kind of just winds up being like boring. Some records you can, like, I guess, like How to Dismantle for me is like, if I put it on, even if I'm not convinced I want to listen to it, the record will like convince me at some point that like I want to hear it. But No Line on the Horizon, like, I have to be in the right mood for it, otherwise I'm not really down with it. But I do still think, as far as like chances taken and ultimate U2, just U2 being as U2-y as possible, I still think that record is a good example of those things.
What Shiny Happy People is to Out of Time, Get On Your Boots is to No Line.
Get On Your Boots is definitely the worst U2 song of all time.
It sabotages that album so hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny when they talk about Get On Your Boots in the YouTube podcast.
Really funny. They hate it.
I got to take a pee break.
Okay.
Real quick.
Quinn.
So.
Well, we'll probably wrap it up soon. So.
All right. Well, I'll just wait.
Well, no. I was saying you can go ahead, but.
All right. I'll go
pee, and then you'll come back and we'll make closing statements.
Did you get, speaking of production, did you see that Jack Antonoff did a bunch of the production on that Kendrick album?
On the Kendrick record? I did see that.
He had production on like 11 out of 12 songs.
Damn.
And it's like, it's all like banger ass West Coast production. And
he's very in demand right now as a producer.
He must have a lot of money.
He really must.
He must, yeah.
He produces just like everything now.
A lot of Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I felt
all the pop girlies.
Yeah.
I had a lot of mixed feelings about the new Kendrick record.
We should return and do an episode on it because like I said, I haven't even listened through it all the way. I'm going to do that tonight.
It's definitely I think it's a multiple listens type of record.
Funny that
I really like the first song. First song's a banger.
I think that there's I don't know, it's I don't know. I guess I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But it's definitely like I think it just, for me personally, it required multiple listens. Like the first listen, I was just like, I don't know what I just listened to really. Like
the commentary I've seen around the album is less about the music itself and more about like the implications to the culture and to the various beefs that are going on. I haven't seen like a lot of like honest reviews of, or people like talking about how good the music is, or it's just kind of like, whoa, Kendrick is, claiming the throne or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta listen through it all the way. It's funny that it was released the same day as Reassemble, because for the longest time the top U2 song on Apple Music was XXX,
That's funny.
the Kendrick song, which has the U2 feature.
Have you guys seen the weird thing with like Father John Misty and
Yeah,
Kendrick?
that they have the exact same release cadence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that
And
never
now-
got pointed out.
and now
until
Cadzo.
now.
And now cadzo, yeah. Now we're perfectly synced.
Yeah, you guys really picked a stacked Friday to
Yeah.
go up against.
Every Friday feels stacked lately, though. I knew there was, like, when we were breaking, had a feeling like something big was going to happen. And several big things happened.
Yeah,
what
but
can you do?
Yeah, it's not going to affect us.
No.
You guys will definitely still probably get top 5, but it's just gonna be hard to crack number one.
It's just
Not
like
claiming the
which
number
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be close for everybody, I bet.
Yeah.
You guys had Jack Antonoff on a couple of your songs as well, right? Dude, the song Target Market, I've had that one on repeat since
Thanks,
you guys
dude.
reissued it.
Uh-huh.
What's the guy's name of his keyboard?
Will Benson.
Well, he really snapped on that. You guys all snapped on that song, but he really
Yeah. Yeah, his parts are so good.
Very catchy.
Yeah, I think Benson really did wind up becoming the glue for the whole record in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like all of the coolest melodies and most catchy ideas are all Benson's.
Yeah.
Which is the point of a keyboard player, I guess. That's
Yeah.
what you want.
Benson's definitely the best musician of all of us. So, I appreciate you listening to that song, Connor.
Definitely. Ramp it up. Ramp it up the streams.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one's doing all right. Well, cool. Thanks so much, Connor, for coming on. We have a busy schedule with you throughout the end of the year, potentially, because we need to do Spotify Wrapped episode.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, that's probably going to fucking come out like tomorrow now.
Yeah.
Wrapped any day now.
But yeah, it should. Whatever you guys need me, I'll make it happen.
Okay, cool. And we have not forgot about Third Eye Blind episode either.
I kind of forgot about it.
Julie probably has, but it's always in the back.
I definitely didn't forget about it.
Yeah. No, I am honestly really excited to do that one because I've listened to that record a few times.
Wasn't there a new Third Eye Blind record this year?
I don't know. That's a band that stopped existing for me after their first album. I've only ever listened to their first album.
They did a live at Red Rocks album that came out this year.
Oh, maybe that's what I saw.
Can you imagine how cool it would be to that U2 Red Rock show from like '83?
I actually just watched that on YouTube again.
It looks, when he's waving the white flag, it looks pretty sweet. It's also crazy how like identical Red Rock still looks.
Yeah,
40 years
exactly.
later.
Yeah.
It's just like you imported a bunch of people dressed in 80s clothing today into Red Rocks. It's pretty surreal.
Yep.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy Black Friday. Get that shopping done.
I will be shopping for U2 reassemble vinyls. And maybe surprise cadzo vinyl drop Black Friday.
Oh, you never know.
Really gonna have to whip into action for that one.
Someone,
you gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
I got tickets. Jack White Santa Barbara Bowl.
Oh, nice.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. Me and Matt. Well, Matt got tickets.
That's amazing. Julie and I were just complaining about missing him at the club show he did in Denver, but now he's announced the arena tour. So
I did get some tickets.
You got tickies already?
To the Mission, the Thursday show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Sweet.
I'll have to buy some.
Cool. All right, guys. Adios.
Adios.